Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. There is this pervasive tension in the modern workplace, a sort of silent battle we're all fighting, usually around 2 or 3 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
It's the battle between the industrial idea of productivity, that outdated belief that we should be able to sit down and just grind through 8 hours of work like a machine,
Yeah.
and the biological reality that our brains simply aren't built for marathons.
Right.
We treat ourselves like software that can run continuously, but we're actually hardware that overheats.
That is the fundamental disconnect, isn't it? If you look at how most businesses are structured, they're effectively betting against human biology.
Betting against biology, I like that.
Yeah, they design workflows that require this constant high-level output, and they're basically ignoring the fact that the human nervous system has these hard stops.
So what we're looking at today suggests there's a better way.
A much better way. The competitive advantage, really, in the future of work. It's going to belong to the people and the organizations who stop fighting their physiology and start scheduling around it.
It's a massive shift from just time management, clocking hours, to energy management.
Exactly.
And to guide us through this, we are doing a deep dive into a really fantastic guide called Work with Ultradian Rhythms, Maximize Productivity in 90-Minute Cycles by Felix Römer. And I want to be clear up front, this isn't just some wellness fluff piece about taking more naps. Römer frames this as a strategic roadmap. It's about hacking your efficiency, using the biology you already have.
The timing on this is so critical. I mean, we're at a point where burnout is practically a buzzword, right?
Absolutely.
But the solutions offered are often just take a vacation or try to sleep more. Römer argues for something totally different. He points out that while almost everyone knows about circadian rhythms,
The 24-hour clock.
the 24-hour clock that regulates our sleep and wake cycle, very few business leaders are leveraging what he calls ultradian rhythms.
Okay, so ultradian. I feel like that's one of those terms that floats around the biohacking space, but most people don't actually know what it means or, how it's different from circadian.
It's a crucial distinction. Circadian is the macro clock. Sun comes up, you wake up, sun goes down, you sleep. It regulates the big picture.
Right.
Ultradian rhythms are the micro clocks. These are biological cycles that repeat multiple times within that 24-hour period. And if you want to eliminate that afternoon slump, this is the mechanism you need to understand.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really decode that cycle. We're going to walk you through what Römer calls the 90-20 protocol, a specific way to structure your day.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to start with the mechanism itself. What is actually happening inside our bodies every 90 minutes or so? Is it just a habit, or is this hardwired?
Oh, it's physically measurable and completely hardwired. It's called the basic rest activity cycle, or BRAC.
BAC.
It was actually discovered in sleep research first, that cycle between REM and non-REM sleep. But then researchers realized this rhythm continues while we're awake.
Interesting.
So the cycle consists of a peak, roughly 90 to 120 minutes long, where you have this high-frequency brain activity. This is when you're alert, you're focused, capable of that deep cognitive work.
And then the crash, or the dip.
Well, not a crash, ideally, but a trough. After that peak, the body hits a 20 to 30-minute period where it's signaling for recovery.
Is this just a psychological thing? Like, oh, I've been doing spreadsheets for an hour, I'm bored now, or is there an actual chemical change happening?
It's deeply physiological. I mean, it shows up in your heart rate variability, your digestion, your breathing patterns, even in hormone pulses.
Hormones. Like which ones?
Cortisol, dopamine, serotonin. Essentially, during that 90-minute peak, your brain is just burning through glucose and electrolytes, specifically sodium and potassium, to keep those signals firing.
Yeah.
When you hit the limit, the tank is, it's essentially empty.
So the body has to shift gears to replenish all that.
Precisely.
This explains so much. The problem is, I think most of us, and I'm definitely guilty of this, we just ignore that signal. The deadline is looming, the coffee is fresh, so we just power through the 90-minute mark.
We think discipline means ignoring our body, right?
Exactly.
But that is where you get what I call grinding fatigue. When you push past that biological hard stop, your focus fades. But more importantly, your stress levels shoot up.
Why stress?
Because the body interprets that continued demand as a threat. It's running on fumes, so it starts pumping out stress hormones just to keep you alert. So quality drops, you make more mistakes, and you enter a state where you're working, but you aren't actually productive. You're just busy.
It's the difference between driving a car efficiently and driving it with the parking brake on.
That's a perfect analogy.
You're still moving, but you're damaging the engine and burning way more fuel.
That's it. And Römer brings some serious data to the table to prove this isn't just theory. We need to move this conversation from personal wellness to business strategy.
Let's get into those numbers. Because if I'm a manager listening to this, I might be thinking, I can't just tell my team to stop working every 90 minutes. We have targets.
We have clients.
Right. But the data suggests that stopping actually helps you hit the targets faster.
It does, and the evidence is compelling. The source cites a 2024 study from the Journal of Applied Psychology that is really eye-opening. They found employees who took 15-minute breaks every 90 minutes reported 23% higher job satisfaction.
23% is massive in terms of retention. If you can bump satisfaction by nearly a quarter just by changing the schedule, that's a huge win for HR.
It's huge, but look at the stress metric. They also reported 17% lower stress compared to the people working uninterrupted. And if you want to talk about raw output, which is what the managers care about,
Yeah, the bottom line.
there was a large tech trial in 2024. They saw a 12% rise in project completion.
Wait, so let me get this straight. They worked less time technically by taking more breaks, but they completed 12% more projects.
Yes, and on top of that, they saw a 9% drop in burnout rates.
It just seems so counterintuitive until you factor in the switching costs. That's a concept Römer highlights, and I think it's the secret sauce here.
Right. It's all about cognitive load.
Yeah.
When you work in these 90-minute cycles, you are essentially forced to single task. You bundle your most demanding tasks into one high-energy cycle. And this lowers the mental cost of constantly switching gears, jumping from email to a spreadsheet to a meeting, which is where most modern workers just lose their day.
Attention residue, right. I think that's the term.
Exactly. Every time you switch tasks, you leave a little bit of your attention behind. By grouping work into these biological waves, you minimize that residue. And if you look at the macroeconomic picture,
Oh, this is wild.
the World Economic Forum estimated that scaling these patterns could result in up to $1.3 trillion in annual productivity gains by 2030.
1.3 trillion. That is the cost of the waste in our current always-on system. It's just staggering.
It's efficiency that's found in the waste of the current system. We are trying to force a biological organism to act like a computer, and it's costing us trillions.
Okay, so the why is undeniable. We have the biology, the business case. So here's where it gets interesting for me. The execution.
The practical part.
Yeah, because the theory is great, but we all live in the real world of Slack notifications and urgent emails. Römer outlines something called the 90-20 protocol. How do we actually do this?
The framework is surprisingly simple, but it does require discipline. It breaks down into 3 phases: plan, perform, and recover.
Okay.
The plan phase is about blocking 90-minute windows on your calendar. Römer suggests putting your hardest, most cognitively demanding task in that first block of the day.
Because that's when the brain is freshest.
Yeah.
Eat the frog, as they say.
Exactly. Then comes perform, and this part is crucial. You have to single task, silence notifications, close the extra tabs. The source even mentions companies like Buffer. They use this concept for what they call masterpiece days. It's about protecting that 90 minutes as if it were a meeting with your CEO.
That's a great way to frame it. You wouldn't check your phone in a meeting with your biggest investor, so don't do it during your own peak focus time.
Precisely. Treat your own focus with that same respect. And then we hit that minute 90 mark, the recover phase.
Sure.
And this is where I think most people get it wrong.
This is the part that hit me hardest reading the material. Römer differentiates between a real break and a pseudo break. Okay,
Yeah.
call me out here. What is a pseudo break?
A pseudo break is checking email, it's scrolling social media, it's reading the news headlines, it's doing those quick tasks like paying a bill online.
But it feels like a break because I'm not doing my work. I'm looking at cat videos or checking sports scores. It feels relaxing.
It feels like a pause, but neurologically you're still processing information, you're still stimulating the visual cortex, you're making micro decisions to scroll, to click. Your brain stays in work mode.
So it doesn't get the reset it needs.
You aren't letting the tank refill, you're just driving the car in circles in the parking lot.
So my Instagram scrolling is actually preventing the recharge.
It is active interference. To get that 23% boost in satisfaction and focus, you need what he calls active rest.
Okay, give us examples. What should we actually be doing in that 20-minute window? If I can't look at my phone, what do I do?
Movement is number 1. A 5 to 15-minute walk. It loosens muscle tension, sure, but physiologically it increases circulation, which literally flushes out the metabolic waste that builds up in your brain.
So you're literally taking out the trash in your brain.
Precisely. You're clearing the mechanism. Breath work is another big one. Even 3 minutes of deep breathing calms the nervous system, lowers cortisol.
And food. I usually grab a coffee and maybe a donut if I'm hitting a wall.
Mm.
The sugar rush helps for a minute.
Which is the exact opposite of what you should do. The text advises fueling with things like nuts or yogurt to stabilize your glucose. Sugar creates a spike, and then a crash right in the middle of your next 90-minute block.
You want a slow burn, not an explosion.
Exactly. There's a line in the source that really stuck with me. A well-timed break restores focus far faster than pushing on.
It goes back to that idea of maintenance. You don't drive a Formula One car for 500 laps without a pit stop.
You'd blow the tires. You have to pit to win. And that's what high performers understand. The break isn't time lost. It's speed gained in the next lap.
Now, this 90-minute cycle, it doesn't just apply to the office, does it? Römer draws a really strong line between our workday and our sleep.
It really is a fascinating connection. We often think of sleep as one long 8-hour block, but sleep also moves in these ultradian cycles. We cycle between REM and non-REM sleep roughly every 90 minutes.
The rhythm never stops.
It just changes form from waking focus to sleeping recovery.
So how do we use that to wake up better? Because I hate that groggy feeling in the morning. Is that related to the cycle?
Absolutely. That grogginess is usually sleep inertia. It happens when your alarm goes off in the middle of a deep sleep cycle, the bottom of that wave.
The worst.
Yeah. So the actionable advice here is to time your sleep to be a multiple of 90 minutes. Instead of just aiming for 8 hours, which puts you mid-cycle, aim for 7.5 hours. That's 5 cycles. Or 9 hours, which is 6.
If you wake up at the end of a cycle, you're naturally in a lighter sleep state.
And you wake up feeling alert. It's just math. Then, once you're up, Römer emphasizes morning light.
As a primer for the day.
Exactly. Getting natural light within an hour of waking up anchors your circadian clock. It sets the timer for the day, ensuring your first ultradian peak actually happens when you sit down to work.
And the environment plays a huge role here, too. The source talks about temperature and lighting.
It does. Cool and ventilated spaces sharpen attention. Warmth signals the body to relax. So keep your workspace cool around 68, 70 degrees Fahrenheit and use warmer light when you're winding down.
You're signaling to your biology what you expect it to do. Okay, I want to touch on the nuance here because life is messy. Sometimes writing the 90-minute timer goes off, but I am absolutely crushing it. I'm in the zone. Do I just stop?
That raises the important question of flow states. The advice in the text is clear. Do not be rigid. If you are experiencing flow, that deep absorption where time seems to disappear.
Yeah, you look up and 2 hours have passed.
Ride the wave. Do not let the clock dictate the work if the work is happening effortlessly.
So ignore the timer in that case.
In that specific instance, yes. Flow is a rare and highly productive state. Stopping would be counterproductive. However, and this is a big however, once that flow state naturally fades, a real recovery is mandatory. You can't go from a 2-hour flow state right into another heavy task. You've borrowed energy from the future, and you need to pay it back with a solid break.
That's a really healthy way to look at it. Be flexible, but be honest with yourself about your energy levels.
Exactly. Don't punish yourself for being productive, but don't pretend there wasn't a cost.
What about tools? Do we need a bunch of expensive wearables to track this?
He's actually pretty cautious about wearables. He says that while they can offer cues, just logging your own energy levels is often more effective. You know when you're tired.
True. But for execution, to build the habit, he does recommend focus apps like Forest, Toggle, or Rescue Time.
Forest is the one where you plant a digital tree, and if you touch your phone, the tree dies. Right.
It sounds silly, but it externalizes the commitment. It enforces the boundary. It basically gamifies the discipline until it becomes second nature.
So bringing this all together, we've got the science, the business case, the 90-20 protocol. It really feels like we're reimagining the workday. What's the big takeaway?
I think it represents a fundamental shift. We are moving from an era of time management, squeezing more tasks into hours, to energy management, where we sync our output with our biology.
It's funny, we optimize our phone batteries better than we optimize our own energy. We have low power modes, we charge them regularly, but we run ourselves into the ground and wonder why we crash.
That's a profound observation. And the forward-looking conclusion here is that the afternoon slump, that 3 p.m. crash, isn't a personality flaw. It's not a lack of discipline. It is simply a biological signal that a cycle has ended. That is such a liberating thought. It changes how you look at a bad afternoon. It's not, I'm lazy, it's, I need a reboot.
It is. The competitive advantage in the future won't go to the person who works the longest hours. It will go to the person who respects the cycle, takes the real break, and comes back to the next 90-minute block with full capacity. It belongs to the strategic rester.
The strategic rester. I like that. It's about working smarter, not harder, a cliche, I know. But in this case, it's backed by hard biology.
Well, I think that is a perfect place to leave it. I'm definitely going to look at my calendar differently tomorrow.
Same here. I might even go for a walk immediately after this recording.
A real break. I like it. No scrolling. A huge thank you to you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast. We hope this deep dive helps you unlock a new level of focus in your week and maybe reclaim your afternoons.
And if you want to dig into the details, see the charts, or check the references we discussed, you can find the full article by Felix Römer in the show notes. It's a great resource to have if you want to implement this with your team. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the future of work. Until then, keep optimizing. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.